Welcome to the laws of Shabbat. This will be part 28 of the class. Today's topic, an item that was cooked or produced during twilight. Rav David Yosef Shatan Sever Halacha Birura is going to speak about what happens if a woman went ahead and she used the time of Ben Hashmashot to finish cooking food, or she turned on the urn, or she turned on the blech. Are you allowed to go ahead and benefit from that food? Or you had a person, he went ahead and he finished repairing something in the house for Shabbat during Ben Hashmashot. Can you use that item on Shabbat itself? This is what we want to discuss today. Now, a lot of people might think that this halakha is not important. This halakha is very important, and I'll explain to you why. People don't know the difference between twilight and before sunset. What do I mean? Again, I just made up a makeshift calendar. Just want to show you something. Let's say lighting candles today is at 6:40. For example, some calendars have it 18 minutes before sunset. Some calendars have it 20 minutes. It doesn't matter. Same thing. When it says you have to light the candles at 6:40, that's not when you are accepting Shabbat. You're going to accept Shabbat. Shabbat falls on you immediately at 7 o'clock. You don't have to accept Shabbat. It's on you. But when you're lighting the candles at 6:40, it does not mean you accept Shabbat. When a woman lights candles at 6:40, with the lighting of the candles alone, she's not accepting the Shabbat. She's accepting the Shabbat at 7 o'clock, at sunset. So therefore, if a woman, let's say she lit the candles at 6:40, now Rabotai, this is specific if you're lighting candles 20 minutes prior or 18 minutes prior to sunset. But if you're lighting an hour and 15 minutes earlier than sunset, over there we're not going to tell you this rule that with the lighting of the candles, you don't accept the Shabbat. Because if you're lighting it that early, it shows that you want to accept Shabbat. But when it's only 18 minutes or 20 minutes before sunset, with the lighting of the candles alone, you don't accept Shabbat. There's many halachot to this. Let's just stick with this right now. Rabotai, whenever you guys learn halachot, please do not make any inferences without knowing the halakha 100%. So in this situation, let's say a woman went ahead and she lit the candles 20 minutes prior to Shabbat. Like I mentioned before, since she's only lighting 20 minutes prior to Shabbat, with that she does not accept Shabbat. That is halakha. Unless she says, I want to accept Shabbat, she does not accept Shabbat. She forgot to turn on the urn. She forgot to put the food on the blech. She forgot to do other things. She had a dress that after the lighting of the candles, she finds out that it's ripped. She wants to go now and she wants to stitch it up. Is she allowed to do it? Yes. After 6:40 until 7 o'clock, that time she has to play with. No problem. We'll allow you to go ahead and do whatever needs to get done. Now, you do have to be very careful that 2-3 minutes before sunset, you want to stop doing all forms of malacha. Why? Because we're afraid you're going to get dragged into after sunset. Now, here where the problem comes in. If a woman lit the candles at 6:40, we tell her you have about 20 minutes later, after 6:40, up to 7 o'clock, you have 20 minutes to play around with. You forgot this, you forgot turning the light in the bathroom, whatever it might be. You want to turn on the dryer machine, laundry machine, whatever it might be, no problem. However, after sunset, according to the letter of the law, you are not allowed to do any form of malacha. And this is where people make the mistake. They think that since after 6:40 I have 20 minutes to play with until sunset, so from sunset until when the 3 stars come out, which in this case is 7:15, so I have extra 15 minutes to play around with. No, you don't. Once sunset hits, automatically Shabbat comes in. So once it's 7 o'clock, you're not allowed to light the candles. And by the way, I do see a lot of times where women are lighting the last second. They say, Shabbat, and they light. Now they start lighting at 6:58, which is not a problem. But listen to this. When they still continue lighting, it's already 6:59. It's not like you don't do it in 30 seconds, the whole thing. It takes time. Especially if a woman has 6 or 7 or 8 candles she wants to light. So therefore, what happens? She's already in the time of Shabbat, which is Ben Hashmashot. It's already 7 o'clock, 7:01. She's still holding it, until it takes time. Then she starts saying Hiroton. I don't mind the Hiroton. But this that she went ahead and she lit the candle at 7 o'clock or even 7:01, that is a very big problem. She just desecrated Shabbat. The question is, can she benefit from those candles? Meaning, can she enjoy from the light? Not to read by it, but can she enjoy from the light? It's there on the Shabbat table. So this is what we want to see. Now, why am I saying this? A lot of people make that mistake. They try to use the twilight period, which is over here. They try to use this twilight period of 13 and a half seasonal minutes. Now, Rabotai, there is a machloket. How much is this Ben Hashmashot period? How long is it? Halakhically, we hold, like we're going to see in Rav David Yosef Shita Sefer, is 13 and a half minutes, seasonal minutes. That's why I rounded it off to 7:15. But we need to understand that this twilight period over here, the reason why you're not allowed to do any form of malacha, because we don't know, is this twilight period, is it day? Or is it night? I don't know what it is. Since I have a suffix, since I have a doubt, I don't know if it's day or night, so then we're going to tell you, we're going to be stringent, we're going to look at it as night. Once 7 o'clock hits, you're no longer allowed to do any form of malacha. What we want to discuss today in the Sefer of Rav David Yosef in the Halakha Birura, what happens if a woman went ahead? She did do it. You see it many times, Rabotai, she went ahead, she did do it. You have sometimes people that are even bringing food after 7 o'clock into their car. Now they want to drive to the family member because they think they have extra 13 and a half minutes because they look, it's still day outside. Rabotai, it's asur to do that. The only question is, you did it. Now can you benefit from that food that you brought by car to Shabbat, that you brought by car to your family member during Ben Hashmashot, which in reality is technically Shabbat. So this is what we want to see today. To give you a better understanding over here, I want to give you another example for you to understand how important the twilight period is. Let's say an Erev Shabbat, on Friday, a woman goes to the hospital to give birth. Say she entered into the hospital at, let's say, 3 p.m., for example. She does not give birth. Again, keep this time in mind. Sunset is at 7 o'clock. The 3 stars come out at 7:15. Anything in between then is twilight. Now, she enters the hospital at 3 p.m. Let's say her water breaks at, I don't know, let's say 6 o'clock, right? 6 p.m. She delivers the baby at let's say, Rabotai, 7:07. I want to ask you guys a question. Again, this is the Ben Hashmashot from 7 to 7:15. That's the twilight period. I want to ask you a question. Now, this is on Friday night already at 7:07 p.m. My question to you is like this. When is the Brit Milah going to be of this baby boy? Is it going to be on Friday? Is it going to be on Shabbat? Or is it going to be on Sunday? I just want to show you the technicality of Ben Hashmashot, how important it is in halakha. What do you guys think? When is the Brit Milah going to be for this baby boy? Friday, Saturday, or Sunday? Just think about it, and then I'm going to explain it. If you said it was Friday, it's wrong. If you said it's Shabbat, also wrong. If you said if it's Sunday, that is the correct answer. Now let's go over it. Why can't it be Friday? Very simple. Because remember, look over here carefully. If this twilight period is day or night, right? Right over here, day. Or night. Here. I don't know what it is. So let's go over here, Rabotai. Let's go back to our case. So this woman, she gave birth at 7:07, okay? Now, if you want to tell me that the baby's brit milah is going to be on Friday, because you want to look at this period as day, so you want to say that the baby should have the circumcision on Friday, no problem. Let's do like this. He has the circumcision on Friday. What happens if the twilight period is really night, right over here? What happens if it's really night? That means you did the circumcision one day earlier. That's a problem. You're supposed to be on the 8th day, not the 7th day. Let's continue. So that's why it cannot be Friday. What happens if a person went ahead and he did it on Saturday? Right? Because we have to look at it as night, Shabbat. But do the brit milah on Shabbat. That's a big problem. Why? Because maybe the twilight period is day. So if it's day, you should have done it on Friday. And you did it on Shabbat. So you did it a day too late. Since we have this stuff, we don't know when to do the brit milah. We're going to tell you, do the brit milah on a Sunday. Okay, so you see how important Ben Hashmasha plays. You see how important of a role does Ben Hashmasha play. It's very important to know exactly when a woman gives birth. That's what they write, the time they write everything. That's why if you ever ask a Moel and you tell them on Erev Shabbat, they'll ask you what time, because they have to know exactly when to be able to determine when the baby's brit milah is going to be. Fine. Now let's go back to our case today. So bottom line, we want to say over here like this. We need to understand for today's class that twilight is a period of day or night. We don't know what it is. Since we don't know what it is, once sunset hits, once it's 7 o'clock, you are not allowed to do any form of prohibited labor, any form of malacha after sunset. You can't turn on the lights. You cannot put food on the fire. You're not allowed to do any one of these things. It's completely Shabbat, 100% Shabbat. Now the only question is, what happens if you went ahead and you did do it? And this is what I tried to tell you before. People think that since 6:40 is the time for lighting candles and I have 20 minutes, oh, so maybe after 7 o'clock I also have extra 15 minutes. That's the twilight period. But you don't. You might tell me it's day. Maybe you're right. But I might tell you it's night. If it's night, it's Shabbat. But maybe Rabbi, it's not night. Maybe it's really day. Good, if it's really day, you're right. But we don't want to take any chances, so we take day and night into consideration. We don't allow you to do any form of work after sunset. Okay, so let's go to today's class. To see what happens if a person went ahead and they cooked on Shabbat, or they did anything else on Shabbat. They fixed their shoes. They sew their clothing. Can they benefit from it on Shabbat? So comes Rav David Yosef and he begins. Mi shebishel o asam malacha acheret. If somebody cooked or did any other form of a forbidden labor, after sunset, be'erev Shabbat, on erev Shabbat, im haya hadavar bizman ben hashmashot, if this was done during the twilight period, dahainu betoch 13 dakot v'chatzi, which means to say within 13 and a half minutes, after the sun has been removed from our eyes. Now I want to explain this. It's very important. When we say that the sun is removed from our eyes, meaning that the sun is covered, it doesn't mean that it's completely dark outside. That you're not going to have. Rabotai, look today. See what time sunset is. Go to my Zmanim. see what time sunset is, and then see what time when the stars come out. During that whole period of Ben Hashmashot, it's still light outside. Why? Because let's put it like this, Rabotai. Here, let's use this. When the sun goes below the horizon, it's not completely gone. When it's still below the horizon, doesn't matter, but it's still giving light. But it's below the horizon. For that, Rabotai, that's Ben Hashmashot. We don't know what it is. So that's what he tells us over here. If after the sun is hidden from our eyes, and you went ahead and you did the malacha during that period of time, mutar le'echol et oto tavshil, you're allowed to eat that food, or lehenot me'oto malacha, or to benefit from any forbidden labor, for any forbidden work that you did during that twilight period, afilu b'Shabbat atzma, even on Shabbat itself, ben keshasaken b'shogeg. 1 second, it has to say something else over here. 1 second. Right, okay, he says right over here. Ben keshasaken b'shogeg, uben keshasaken b'mezid. Whether you did it by accident, or whether you did it knowingly, intentionally. Now he says in the parentheses, how can a person, how do you not know, Rabotai, that is Ben Hashmashot? So he says like this, Ukigon shelo yada shekvar shakah hachama. For example, you didn't know that the sun set. You didn't know. So comes Rav David Yosef Shatan and he tells us like this. If you have a person on Erev Shabbat, he went ahead and he cooked something, or he did a prohibited labor after sunset, during twilight, which is 13 and a half period of Ben Hashmashot, let's say from 7 to 7:15, if you were doing any form of cooking or any form of other malachot from 7 to 7:15, whether you did it by accident, whether you did it intentional, Rav David Yosef Shlita tells us you are allowed to go ahead and benefit from that malacha on Shabbat itself. Rabotai, summary. If someone cooks or does any other malacha after sunset, but during Ben Hashmashot, the twilight period of about 13 and a half minutes after the sun disappears, the food or result may be used and enjoyed even on Shabbat itself, whether done by mistake or on purpose. Why is that? This is because Ben Hashmashot is a doubtful time. It might still be Friday, like I explained. I don't know if it's day or night. So we are lenient after the fact. Since it already happened, lechatchila, initially, it is forbidden for you to do anything after sunset. But if you already did it, maybe it was still Friday, maybe it was still day. So if the Ben Hashmashot period is day, so it's Friday. So if it's Friday, then you're allowed to use it. So therefore he says, so we are lenient after the